I had to reconfirm why I don't listen to CNBC. I had it on for the 1 o'clock release of the statement.
Yeah.
And then when I listened for 5 minutes to Leisman and David Kelly,
You wanted to kill yourself?
well, they're talking like he was hawkish. Oh, the Fed will start, removing, will start shrinking its balance sheet once it approaches 4% unemployment. And I'm going, where are you getting this? I'm sitting here and I'm buying things. I'm buying yen. And then I saw the part about that they extended the swap lines. But now, why would you extend the swap lines with the dollar already under getting some pressure and all this liquidity? Why? And I thought that was, so I'm buying more currencies and I'm getting it. And I go, what am I missing here? And okay, I'm back to the plus side of the ledger quite a bit. And I was buying gold down at 52 and a half. I was totally out of the market. I fucked up that gold silver so bad. I want to cry. Hey, you know what? I can see it. I just can't trade it. That makes me very stupid. Okay, besides the point. I thought he was phenomenally dovish.
Agreed.
Right?
Hell yeah.
And he even...
I'm sorry, but your first mistake, Ira, is listening to the morons on CNBC.
And Leisman's question, I go, who wrote that? Larry King? Why would you ask him about fiscal policy when you know he can't really answer it?
All I heard was, all I needed to hear was, rates are going to stay where they are until at least 2023.
Longer than...
Okay, great.
Right. Angelo,
all right.
Even forget about that. Okay. We didn't get outright yield curve control. Okay. So I can understand the market initially back.
Yeah, you know what I think about that. That's not going to happen tomorrow, but
right.
But 1.5% maybe.
He didn't disavow it though. You did hear that.
He did not. He did not disavow it. No.
I think there were actually a couple of good questions. Rich Miller, right out of why don't you increase duration of that? That was the first Rich Miller from Bloomberg. Good question. And Powell, basically said we don't have any specific numbers, but he reiterated for just all of everybody who thinks it's not the reality, the social justice aspect of Fed policy, right? Did you not hear it?
Those were basically his opening remarks.
Yeah. And then even more into questioning. So I don't know. Really.
Price stability or, this dual mandate, price stability, maximum employment. They are going to lean on maximum employment until the freaking cows come home.
Right. But again, the question that I posed, when was that? Back in, I think, May and June. And it was going into the year. If unemployment, as I said, was at 9%, so we're well below that, and inflation was at 6% annualized, would the Fed raise rates? That's still my operative question. And you know what? Even at 6.7, because he talked about what the 6.7 meant, which I found hold on one second.
Find what you're looking for, but I want to say something to you about
go ahead.
unemployment versus inflation.
Okay.
I think the thing that we need to keep in the back of our mind is, remember how I've been saying that we basically have a two-tiered economy? We got the people that are benefiting, like ourselves, in this regime, right? And then this economy is going to continue to move forward, and unfortunately, there's going to be collateral damage that is never going to be able to catch up.
100.
So when we talk about unemployment, I think we also need to be mindful of the fact that we're basically going to have this two-part economy, the one that just keeps pushing forward, the one where the train leaves the station, and the rest of the people that unfortunately are stuck at the station. And that's what I see coming.
listen,
I see it happening already. You know what? The K-shaped recovery. You got the
Yeah.
bottom part of the K and the upward. That's really what I'm speaking to.
well, what you're really speaking to is Janet Yellen, and I'm not disagreeing with it, by the way, not with you or with her pick to be Secretary of Treasury. And Powell knows it too, because that solidifies exactly what you just said. Because her concern is going to be exactly who you're talking about and exactly what Powell has been talking about. That's the social justice ministry that he has taken on, but now he's going to hand it off because he's got a partner in Yellen, unlike with Mnuchin, who I'm not sure what Mnuchin was about. I will never understand it. You know, from day one, I have picked at him because I think so little of him. So this gets we're exactly to where you are talking about. Exactly. And Powell must have said it 10 times. 10 times.
And if I take it a step further, the
Yep.
United States is going to have to completely revamp its unemployment program.
Well, let me tell you something. I did agree with Powell, even though he doesn't have the balls to say it in the way it should have been said. Because when he talked about, and you can go back and listen to it, his views on global inflation. He talked about that global inflation, that he was basically worried about deflation. And really what he wanted to say is the Phillips curve is dead. Because that was what that whole discussion was about. That the global impact on US inflation is far greater than all the analysts and even the Fed has, by using what they have used, meaning the Phillips curve, which is devoid of any type of global analysis because it's domestic based on the domestic jobs. So that was really an important discussion that he had because he's looking out on the globe now. That is
I thought he acknowledged that. I could be wrong. For some reason, I remember him acknowledging that point at the last meeting.
maybe, but I'm telling you, that is explicit. And if he really had bone, he would have said, you know what? In my assessment, and I'm not a PhD in economics, the Phillips curve has outlived its usefulness because that's really what he said. And it was significant, coupled with, of course, the extending the swap lines. So he is using that as now the criterion for moving forward here and the justification for sustaining this far longer than even Steve Leisman and David Kelly. And I used to have a lot of respect for David Kelly, but today's analysis I thought was so shabby. I go, yeah, I must have overestimated him.
Yeah, you know what, Ira? That's because they're all about levels. Those guys are all about levels. It's not about rate of change or anything else. It's about, is it a 1 or is it a 2? You know,
Yeah, it's a good point.
it's
a good
ridiculous.
Point. It's a very good point. It's a very fair point. But I couldn't believe, I thought he was as dovish could be, without an absolute statement that we're just extending duration. And that's how we're going to deal with the balance sheet. And Bookfire and I were going back and forth. I go, am I missing something here? Because I had to go to talk to a few sources, and I went to the Praxis guys afterwards, because I was on Slack with them. What am I missing here? I must be really stupid. I kept saying that because that's not what I'm hearing. And the markets, of course, were going the other way. And I'm not one, as Judd certainly knows, I don't fade markets to fade markets, just because, the public is wrong or whatever is taking place in the immediate short term.
You don't play contrarian for contrarian.
I am not a contrarian. Thank you, Angela, I was somewhere around that word. But Powell basically killed it off. And, so then I actually found it interesting when he talked about, because somebody asked the question, well, inflation and, basically tracing it back to the 70s. And Powell kind of danced around that because his sense, because he said, well, when you had 6% inflation in 1974, you had enough, and he didn't say why, but he said you would get 6% in 75 because people would need to adjust. That's because the private sector unions had power, and the Soviet Union and China had yet to unleash forces upon the global capitalist system that were going to impact it. Of course, those are the two. He didn't speak to it, but I don't think he's a good enough.
Well, Ira, you and I covered that in a lot of detail, I don't know,
Right.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. It's not. Today's a really strange day because, of course, the Swiss were labeled as a currency manipulator, and then all the Swiss did was go down all day.
Yeah, they bought Bitcoin on that. They finally,
right. Judd, your comment was dead right on. That's right. That's what a lot of those traders. So they said, oh, and they actually bought some gold initially, but it was really interesting to me. It was really interesting to me because I go, wow, the Swiss National Bank must be sitting there laughing their balls off, going, they're taking the currency lower. We were worried that this would make it explode, and we'd really have to.
and now look what silver yuan's doing.
Huh?
Now look what silver yuan.
Oh, I'm watching it. In fact, Mike Temple just sent me an email going, oh, it's going up over $1 today.
And the other thing, what was I? Oh yeah, and Scott Miner, this genius, Bitcoin fair value is 400,000.
Oh yeah, because now he's on it and it's working his way. But
Oh my God.
I like Scott Miner, but since he's gone, I think he doesn't work for who he's. Where's he at? Blackstone? He's at BlackRock. He's somewhere.
Guggenheim. Give me something on what he's
Guggenheim.
Oh, but he wasn't always. So he's gotten but a good analyst. I probably one of the best people CNBC has on.
Ira, let me tell you something about gold. So remember a couple of weeks ago, I said to you that the correlation of gold was completely deviating from where it was over the summer and into September and October. Remember gold correlation was like minus 0.95 versus the dollar. Okay. Right. And then the gold correlation over the last couple of weeks actually went positive versus the dollar, and that was during that $135 drawdown period. Well, guess what happened in the last couple of days? The correlation has now gone back to negative 0.76. So I'm watching that very carefully because that could be, I'm going to call it the canary in the coal mine, that the currencies are just going to depreciate relative to gold in this, what I'm going to call new MMT period that I think we're entering. That's what I see. I see Europe doing it, and we're doing it.
That's the first thing I sent to Judd this morning, right, Judd? Gold currencies. Now, my first instinct was to buy gold and sell Swiss, but I said, I'm not going to sell the Swiss because that 8803 is going to be so big. And what are the Swiss going to do? And the Swiss now, my original call was if the Swiss got, I don't know about Vietnam. That's such a sideshow. That's as stupid as Mnuchin can possibly be. Vietnam's not even a fly on the elephant's ass. And the audacity of the United States to label them a currency manipulator, they should be giving them a Marshall Plan, like a Bretton Woods, and freeze their currency at a very low level to bail them out for all the disastrous harm they did. I
wonder what percent of global GDP the Vietnam is, right?
Minimus, Pete. So listen. The United States owes them big. And if we want to lock up on that and discuss that, great. But you know what? That's like something, declaring Vietnam a currency manipulator is something that asshole Robert McNamara would have done.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to what's really driving the metals, and it's the silver. And you were all over that.
Yeah.
It's about the silver platinum's broke out above the 200-day this morning again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's leading. It's been leading all night.
Yeah, and you know what? Interesting that the platinum went the other way today, and that's not platinum has been the power link, along with copper, but platinum. So
It's
now,
just sitting.
Angelo, they were unwinding without question some gold platinum today. For the last 2 days, I really believe. And silver came along for the ride, and now they're going to
Silver equities,
Yeah.
they deserve a look right this year.
Well, they're gonna sell the silver on the solar energy. So you could probably run tan, a correlation between tan and silver. I haven't looked at it, but
I
that's
thought silver was, demand was improved by solar.
well, that's my point. So as tan has gone up, so now they'll add that into the silver mix in a very, the bulls will push that angle.
Well,
Yeah,
there
it's
it is
good.
right
Okay.
there on the active daily. I mean,
Silver's
there's not a
easy.
lot. It doesn't look good because it doesn't have a lot of trade location.
Yeah, no, I know it's too new, but that's
Yeah.
the gut. Here, somebody's coming after the silver big time right now.
How about SIL, Judd?
SIL straight up.
Silver miners,
Yeah, that was that. We looked at those yesterday, Peter.
yeah.
It's trading much better than the gold miners. If
It
you look
is.
at the weekly right here, it wants to go back up to, oh, sorry, that's the silver, that's wrong.
Angelo,
Here,
Yeah,
where is he?
he's here.
I did
I'm right here.
put on some flatteners into this because I said as soon as I heard that he was willing to extend duration, they just didn't need to do it yet. I mean, he couldn't have been more succinct in saying that. I heard it, and there were actually some really good questions asked of him.
I think you're early on the flatteners, but who am I?
It's just a trade. You know what? I'll be out of it in 10 minutes if I got a shot like the other day on Friday when it went the other way.
You guys take a look at these silver miners. Now, I don't like chasing them today, but if they come back and retest 43.5 and hold,
Yeah.
because you're getting an ORH week in there, they're going to extend and go in the year end.
Well, and on the flatteners, Angelo, just watch the banks because the banks just trade right off of them.
Yeah,
So
but
you short the bond.
the banks didn't do much.
I know.
Well, I guess some did, some didn't.
Yeah, they're not doing much.
Well, your friend was touting your name. Okay.
Who?
The Nigerians last night.
Oh.
So I tweeted to him. I said Iris has had us on that trade for months for 100% return. There's more to go. And then he retweeted that out.
Who did, Nigerian?
Oh yeah. Then he retweeted it out because I wrote it in such a way it was like, I didn't write it to say, hey, basically, where the hell you been for the last few months?
Yeah, I like John and Pete, but
yeah, but I mean, come on, guys. So I couldn't help myself.
it's okay. It's okay. You know what? I'm in a feisty mood. I'm locking up. Because
That's okay, Ira. Ron Johnson's little episode today on Capitol Hill. I sent him a tweet saying that he should stop spouting all that stuff. It was the bile that was coming out of his mouth was the result of drinking too much Lake Winnebago water.
Hey, I played 9 holes of golf this morning with a guy from Green Bay.
Really?
Yeah, Bob Klaus. Nice guy.
Was he fat?
In the game.
Sure.
So I go, oh shit!
Did you say was he
What
fat?
am I fucking? So I played 9 holes and got back 10 minutes. And that's
Judd and I know Wisconsin,
Pete, what do you know about Wisconsin?
I lived in Madison 25 years. I went to UW.
Did you really live in Madison 25 years?
Yeah, I was married to a girl from Madison until she passed, and I went to UW and I went hunting deer and I rode motorcycles, all that shit.
That's why we're always working each other.
I just bought 2 new Badger shirts in the bookstore. I just got them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you said
You know, and I
went
worked
there.
in the Capitol for a right-wing fanatic from Spring Green back in the 70s.
What was his name?
She gave me a research project on the legalization of marijuana. Well, you know how I came out, but she wasn't having any of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got midweek extremes, guys. So, you know, tomorrow's a free day, and then we'll see what happens Friday into Monday.
I'm going to go burn off some of my venom, but you know what? I'm going to go back and re-listen to it because I really thought he was phenomenally dovish. And
Yeah. Well, Booth said basically into infinity. That was her comment.
who said that? What'd she say?
She said, you know, basically easing into infinity.
What's that mean? Easing.
Well, she just thought that they were going to be easy into infinity and they were just going to keep pumping money forever. That was basically her take on it.
Listen, he's locked himself in until those jobs come back. And we know that those service sector jobs are going, especially the lower end of them, they're not coming back so fast. They're not coming back so fast. So that's what when I poked at him months ago for that social justice comment, look at, from a moral perspective, I agree. I always agreed with Yellen, but I just didn't want a moral philosopher as the Fed chair. I just think that that's not what you need. You need somebody who's going to protect.
So what did Bookbar think? He was saying what, 40 billion a month?
Well, he talked about if the housing market is as good as Powell was talking about, why would you be buying 40 billion of MBS a month? Let the market take care of that.
It's really good at these rates, at these treasury.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, why are you involved in the market? And you know, somebody who was asked him a question, and it was a good question about the price of housing, and you know, and Powell says, "Oh, it's not excessive." Well, you know what? Bookfire has been all over this for 6 months. You're driving housing prices away from people who can't afford to buy a house.
Yeah.
Ira, the rate of change of home sales is in the rear view mirror. Okay, so you know the housing, Toll Brothers, Pulte, D.R. Horton, all of them. I see demand coming out of those stocks. When I say demand, I'm talking about the stock prices.
No.
Why? So housing was great. Okay, housing was great, and now it's a little bit less great, which equals bad because rate of change at the margin, markets don't like that. So if anybody's wondering why ITB and XHB have just literally gone nowhere to slightly down, that's why, because the comps come the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter are going to be insurmountable for the home builders.
Angelo, I'm living in the middle of it. Scottsdale is so hot. Every big corner, which is about every mile and a half, there's somebody, they do that like where they wave signs, and it's Toll Brothers. They've got all these developments going down here. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah,
because
yeah. But my point is that the astute investor, you know, the ones that understand any particular industry, already know that they're not going to be able to surpass the rate of increase in sales that happened in 2020.
Yeah.
The rate of increase of sales is still going to be demonstrably positive, but much less positive.
okay, so there's a great term, and it is one of the better terms of economics that I learned from Bernard Connolly in depth. Intertemporal misallocation or intertemporal um, misallocation. So what you keep doing is bringing demand forward, which is what you're saying, right? You keep rates.
That's what 2020, that's what the virus did. Yes.
Yes, I agree with you, because you kept rates low, but people are not, there are a lot of people out there not earning the money that they were, and nothing says it more than my spending habits, because I'm a supporter of a lot of the service industries, right?
Yep.
So hold on one second. I'm going to mute you because I got the bus. Hold on.
Because the average person, looks around in places like South Carolina, Florida, Texas, Georgia, and goes, oh my God, real estate's booming.
Well, it
And
is
that's
in
true.
certain places. Yeah.
And,
Not in the city.
and that's true. That is, and the fact that it's booming is totally true. But human nature is just to extrapolate that out and assume, well, this is going to last forever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm back. And you know what? And I'm in the height of it, and there are certain areas of the country, like Scottsdale is hot because people are pouring in from California, and not to buy second homes, by the way.
Yeah, New Mexico too.
California, I see it everywhere. People
But Ira, let's go over the counterpart to that trade. So
Okay.
those people are coming from somewhere. So either they have cash that they're buying in Scottsdale, as Scottsdale's like, I'll call it a second home, or they've sold in Chicago and they're getting the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, except I can't sell my house has been on the market for 5 months. Nothing.
So at some point, you might be willing to sit with it, but at some point you might say to yourself, screw that. Let me price it to sell it so I can get the hell out of here and stop taxes.
I'm already pricing it based on, which I can't stand at comps. But let me tell you what I think will be the last leg of this housing market is when that SALT tax that Trump threw on gets played with, because the 10,000 cap is holding back some real potential buyers, because the taxes, especially like in Illinois where property taxes are ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, here too.
10,000? That's nothing. I have a.
Oh, but no, Ira, no, that 10,000 is the combination of state and property taxes.
I know.
Income and property taxes.
I know. It's so, and then when I know people, and they're not spectacular homes, by the way, they're not spectacular homes, paying $25,000 and $30,000 in property taxes. Well, you know what? You think about exactly what you're buying, because if making $150,000 or $200,000 a year, and I'm not making light of that. That's a very nice income, but you're not going to pay $30,000 a year. Oh, gotta take this in property taxes. It's something to think